Story 1. Achilles chooses glory. Before the war at Troy began, Achilles already knew the shape of his fate. His mother, the sea nymph, Thetis, had been told a prophecy about her son. Two paths lay before him. If Achilles remained at home in Phthia, he would live a long and peaceful life. His name would fade with time, remembered only by family and village. But if he sailed to Troy, he would gain eternal glory. His name would echo through centuries. Songs would be sung of his strength and fury, yet his life would be short. The prophecy did not command him, it reveals the crossroads. Achilles was raised among kings and warriors. His father, Peleus, ruler of Phthia, ensured that the boy learned the arts of battle and leadership. But much of Achilles' early training occurred under the care of the centaur Chiron, a legendary teacher who lived on Mount Pelion. There, Achilles learned hunting, medicine, and discipline. Even as a child, his strength was extraordinary. Stories later told how his mother tried to hide him from the war entirely. Knowing the prophecy, Thetis brought Achilles to the island of Skyros and disguised him among the daughters of King Lycomedes. If he could remain hidden, the war might proceed without him. But destiny does not always arrive quietly. The Greek leaders knew they needed Achilles to win the war. Odysseus, king of Ithaca, came to Skyros with a plan. He presented the women of the court with gifts, fine fabrics, jewels, and ornaments. Hidden among these gifts were weapons. The disguised Achilles reached immediately for the sword. The test revealed him. Soon after, the call to Troy became unavoidable. Greek kings gathered their forces and prepared ships for the long voyage across the Aegean Sea. Achilles now faced the choice that prophecy had outlined since birth. No god forced him onto the ship. He walked there himself. The Iliad, attributed to the poet Homer, does not begin with this choice, but Greek tradition never forgot it. Achilles understood the cost. His mother had warned him. To fight at Troy meant that he would not return home. But glory, kleos, held immense power in Greek culture. Kleos meant more than fame. It meant lasting honor carried through story. For warriors in heroic tradition, kleos granted a form of immortality through memory. Achilles chose it. He gathered his myrmidons, elite warriors loyal to him, and sailed for Troy. For nearly a decade, he fought in the war. His skill in battle became legendary. Enemies feared his speech and ferocity. Allies depended on his strength. Yet the prophecy followed him. Throughout the war, Achilles remained aware that his life moved toward an early end. Even moments of anger and withdrawal, such as his refusal to fight after conflict with Agamemnon, did not alter the trajectory already set in motion by his decision. Eventually, Achilles returned to battle after the death of his friend, Patroclus. In rage and grief, he confronted Hector, Troy's greatest defender. Achilles killed him, but victory did not undo prophecy. Later traditions recount that Achilles himself was struck down by Paris, guided by the god Apollo. The arrow struck his heel, the one vulnerable place on his otherwise invincible body. The prophecy fulfilled itself, yet Achilles' name did not vanish. For over 2,000 years, the story of the warrior who knowingly chose a short life of glory over a long life of obscurity has endured. His choice became one of the most powerful examples of heroic decision in ancient literature. The omen had been spoken long before the war began. The prophecy had revealed two roads. Achilles did not stumble into his destiny. He chose it. Story 2. Mulan takes her father's place. In northern China, during the period remembered through the Ballad of Mulan, war arrived not as prophecy, but as decree. Imperial messengers traveled across provinces, carrying orders stamped by the authority of the emperor. Each household was required to send a man to serve in the army. The summons was not optional, it was obligation. In one household, the order brought silence. Hua Mulan listened to her father unfolding the document bearing the imperial seal. Her father had served before. Years earlier, he had ridden with the army and returned home injured, his strength diminished by age and war. Now the emperor's command demanded that he return again. Mulan understood what this meant. Her father could not survive another campaign. The ballad describes the moment not with elaborate explanation, but with quiet observation. Mulan sits at her loom, weaving cloth as daughters traditionally did within their household. Yet her mind is not on the work. The rhythm of the loom echoes the sound of worry. The summons lists the names of those required to serve. Her father's name appears. There is no older son to take his place. The family line does not offer another warrior. The law expects obedience. Mulan considers the reality before her. If her father answers the call, he will likely die. If he refuses, the family will face punishment for disobedience to imperial authority. The choice is not framed by prophecy or divine omen. It is framed by duty. In Confucian society, filial devotion, xiao, formed one of the highest moral principles. Children were expected to honor and protect their parents. Loyalty to family and loyalty to the state often aligned, but in this moment, they collided. Mulan's decision emerges from that tension. According to the traditional Ballad of Mulan, first recorded in written form during the Northern Wei dynasty through older, though likely older in origin, Mulan resolves to take her father's place in the army. The decision requires deception. Women were not permitted to serve as soldiers. To enter the army, Mulan must disguise herself as a man. She purchased horse, saddle, and armor. She prepares quietly, without public declaration. The ballad does not dramatize her departure with speeches. It describes action. She leaves before dawn. Traveling north from her home, she crosses the Yellow River, Hoing-ha, and moves toward the frontier where imperial forces gather. The landscape shifts from farmland to open territory, where the threat of nomadic incursion remains constant. Within the army, Mulan fights alongside other soldiers for years. The poem compresses time elegantly. Campaigns pass, battles are fought, seasons turn. Mulan earns respect through discipline and ability. No one suspects her identity. She rides, fights, and endures the same hardships as the men around her. The threshold of her story lies not in victory, but in revelation. After more than a decade of service, the war concludes. The emperor offers rewards and positions to those who served with distinction. Mulan declines official rank. Instead, she asks only for a swift horse to carry her home. When she returns, she removes her armor. She dresses again in the clothing of her household. When her fellow soldiers later visit her home, they are astonished to discover that the warrior they fought beside for years is a woman. The ballad ends with a simple metaphor. Male rabbits and female rabbits run side by side. When they move quickly, who can distinguish one from the other? The story's power lies in the moment of choice before the journey begins. Mulan does not receive prophecy. She reads circumstance. She weighs loyalty to family, law of the empire, and limits placed upon her identity. Her courage is not only physical but moral. She chooses responsibility where avoidance might have seemed easier. The tested hero in this story is not guided by gods, it is guided by duty. The emperor's summons creates the crossroads. Her father's weakness reveals the cost. Her decisions alter the path of the entire household. By stepping forward in disguise, Mulan reshapes what destiny means within her world. Not every turning point is foretold. Some appear as a letter carried to the door. The question is, who answers it? Story 3. Siegfried accepts the dragon's challenge. In the forests and rivers valleys of early Germanic legend, heroes did not become great by inheritance alone. They became great by confronting what others feared to face. One of the most enduring figures in this tradition is Siegfried, known in Old Norse sources as Sigurd. His story appears in the Volsunga saga and later in the medieval German epic Nibelungenlied. Though preserved in written form during the 13th century, the tales themselves reflect much older heroic traditions from Scandinavian and Germanic world. Siegfried's destiny begins with knowledge. A dragon guarded a hoard of treasure hidden deep within the wilderness. The creature, called Fafnir, had once been a dwarf but was transformed by greed and cursed gold into a monstrous serpent. The treasure he guarded included the powerful ring Anvaranat, a ring said to bring ruin to those who possessed it. Travelers avoided the region. Fafnir lay coiled upon the gold, breathing poison and death. No warrior had yet defeated him. The creature's presence turned the forest into forbidden ground. Siegfried learned of the dragon while under the guidance of the smith, Regin, who had his own reasons for encouraging the young hero to confront Fafnir. Regin revealed the location of the treasure and told Siegfried to kill the dragon, that killing the dragon would bring immense wealth and renown. But the knowledge did not force action. Siegfried could have turned away. Many did. The dragon represented not only danger but transformation. Those who pursued the treasure risked the same corruption that had destroyed Fafnir. The cursed gold promised glory and ruin intertwined. Yet Siegfried did not choose safety. He chose confrontation. Regan forged a sword for him called Grom, a blade said to be strong enough to split an anvil. With this weapon, Siegfried traveled toward the desolate place where Fafnir crawled to drink from the river. The hero did not charge blindly. Instead, he studied the creature's habits. He dug a pit along the path where the dragon passed each day. When Fafnir moved across the earth above him, Siegfried thrust the sword upward into the dragon's heart. The beast collapsed with a thunderous cry, but the moment of transformation came after the battle. As the dragon's blood flowed across the ground, Siegfried tasted it. According to the legend, the blood granted him the ability to understand the speech of birds. When he did, the birds warned him of Regan's intentions. The smith planned to betray him and claim the treasure for himself. The omen came not before the fight, but after. Siegfried now faced a second choice. He could trust Regan and remain blind to the danger, or he could accept the warning and act upon it. Listening to the birds, he realized that victory over the dragon had already drawn him into a deeper web of fate surrounding the cursed horde. The hero acted decisively. He killed Regan and took the treasure for himself. But the warning about the gold proved true in later generations. The horde became the center of betrayal, vengeance, and tragedy within the broader Nibelung legends. Siegfried's own life would later end through treachery, as the curse surrounding the treasure spread among kings and kingdoms. Yet the defining moment of Siegfried's story remains his initial decision. The dragon was not merely monster, it was threshold. Germanic heroic tradition emphasizes courage in the face of inevitable risk. A hero did not wait for safety or certainty. He stepped forward when danger revealed the path to greatness. Siegfried's confrontation with Fafnir represents this principle perfectly. He knew the creature was deadly. He understood that those who pursued the treasure rarely escaped unscathed. But the opportunity for transformation stood before him. To refuse the dragon would preserve life but erase legend. To face it meant stepping into a future where glory and peril intertwine. The young hero chose the latter. In the centuries that followed, poets and storytellers across Scandinavia and Germany repeated his name. The slayer of the dragon became symbol of courage that reshapes destiny, even when consequences extend far beyond the moment of victory. The choice created the hero, not the treasure, not the sword, the choice. Story 4. Beowulf faces the dragon. In the final chapter of the Old English epic Beowulf, the hero no longer stands at the beginning of his legend. He stands at the end of it. Years earlier, Beowulf had crossed the sea from Geatland and Denmark and defeated the monster Grendel and later Grendel's mother. Those victories established his reputation across the northern world. Warriors spoke his name with admiration. Kings honored him. Time passed. Beowulf returned home and eventually became king of the Geats. For 50 years, he ruled with stability and strength. The land prospered under his leadership. Peace settled over the kingdom, but peace does not last forever. In a barrow hidden among the hills, a dragon guarded an ancient treasure hoard. The mound lay undisturbed for centuries, sealed after the death of a forgotten people who had buried their gold with ceremonial care. The dragon slept upon this treasure, protecting it with jealous vigilance. One day, a desperate man entered the barrow. He was a fugitive slave seeking refuge. While inside the mound, he took a single cup from the hoard and fled. The theft seemed small, but to the dragon, it was violation. The creature awoke. Angered by the loss, it began flying across the countryside at night, breathing fire upon villages and halls. Homes burned, fields were scorched. Fear spread through the kingdom. The destruction eventually reached Beowulf's own hall. When the king learned what had happened, he understood that the dragon's anger would not end without confrontation. The creature would continue to burn the land until the treasure was restored or the guardian defeated. The decision before him carried weight. Beowulf was no longer a young warrior eager for glory. He was an aging king responsible for the lives of his people. The dragon represented a threat beyond ordinary battle. Many would have chosen to send younger fighters to avoid the conflict entirely. But Beowulf did not delegate the task. The Anglo-Saxon concept of kingship demanded that a ruler protect his people personally when danger threatened the land. A king who avoided such responsibility risked losing honor and legitimacy. Leadership was measured not only in governance, but in courage at critical moments. Beowulf chose to face the dragon himself. He gathered a small band of warriors and traveled to the barrow where the creature dwelled. The mound stood near the sea cliffs, its entrance cut into the earth like a wound in the hillside. Smoke drifted from the opening where the dragon's breath heated the stone. Before entering, Beowulf spoke to his companions. He acknowledged the danger before them. He reminded them of the battles they had fought together and the loyalty that bound them. Yet he also understood that this fight might be his last. The dragon was ancient and powerful, and age had reduced some of the strength he once possessed. Still, he stepped forward. Armed with sword and shield, Beowulf entered the barrow and called the dragon out. The creature emerged in fury. Flames burst from its jaws as it coiled across the ground. The heat of its breath melted the iron edges of shields and scorched the earth beneath its claws. When battle began, Beowulf's companions faltered. Fear overcame them, and all but one fled the fight. Only a young warrior named Wiglaf remained. Seeing his king struggle alone, Wiglaf returned to the battlefield and joined him. Together, they confronted the dragon in a desperate struggle. Beowulf struck the creature with his sword, but the blade broke against the dragon's scales. The beast retaliated, sinking its fangs into the king's neck. Wiglaf then drove his weapon into the dragon's belly, allowing Beowulf to deliver the final blow. The dragon fell. Victory came at a terrible cost. Beowulf's wound proved mortal. As he lay dying, he asked Wiglaf to bring a portion of the treasures so he could see what had been won for his people. The gold glittered in the dim light of the barrow, ancient wealth recovered through sacrifice. Beowulf did not celebrate. He gave final instruction for the protection of his kingdom and then died. The dragon's defeat ended the immediate threat, but the story closes with a somber recognition that the kingdom's future now stood uncertain without its king. The hero had chosen to face the danger personally, accepting that the battle might take his life. In the Anglo-Saxon world, this choice defined leadership. A king's duty was not merely to rule from safety, but to confront threats that endangered the community. Beowulf's final battle illustrates the ultimate expression of that responsibility. He did not seek the dragon for fame. He fought because the moment required it. The choice marks the final act of a life shaped by courage.